Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 2 of the Loafing About podcast. Today I have the ever-talented TheDoctorIsIn as the guest of honor.
It's me.
Yeah, Doc, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience real quick?
Greetings, of twins. It is I, the Doctor is in. Also known as the guy who does that Springtrap and Michael impression. There's a particular meme that everyone kind of like saw. It was me, Michael. That meme kind of popped off. But I do those videos. I do theorizing as well. I have a theory in the works as we speak. But I've been invited here, and actually, it's the second episode, and it's going to be Meatloafer's final episode because I'm going to kill him and take his podcast.
Not my podcast.
Okay.
Out of all the things you could take from me, my most
I don't care
prized
about your
possession.
theories.
Yeah.
You can keep the baby chip. I'll let you keep. I mean, you take that to the grave. But I want the podcast specifically.
I should have known. I should have known you were plotting something.
How's your day going, Meatloafers? I'm gonna take.
I'm
starting
well.
the takeover by proposing the questions before you do.
It's not an interview.
Okay, so like, what do you think of the economy?
Boo. Boo.
What's your main and Marvel rivals? We're not
Invisible
talking about
Woman.
this.
Yeah, no, there will be
that
no
explains a
FNAF
lot.
on this podcast. Only Marvel Rivals.
Open Marvel rivals right now.
And we're just gonna play some Marvel Rivals on this episode, guys. I always come back.
I always come.
So yeah, you do it a lot better than I can.
Yeah, but that's because like I've trained my vocal cords to always sound like Springtrap on command.
Trained for years.
People always ask me that.
Mastered the
like I get a
Springtrap
lot
arts.
of. I always get comments like that on my shorts and whatever, like, how do you do the Michael and Springtrap voice? I've gotten really funny ones too, where the way they structure the question is, what's your secret? Or like, what's the technique? It's not something you can really easily explain because, I mean, it's our voice. It's about putting strain on your vocal cords and like frying your voice so that you get the strained scratchiness.
The secret is chain smoking.
You know what? That's like that is a way. I honestly, because I know a lot of people in my family that smoke. So smoking. It's a fast track way to do a Springtrap impression.
And hey, you have people in your family who smoke, and they all sound exactly like Springtrap.
They do. As a matter of fact, they started physically morphing. I think it might be the field.
One of them gave birth to Springtrap the other day. His name was Matt.
Yeah, it's I'm actually related to Matthew Patrick.
You actually are PJ Haywood.
Headwood.
Okay.
Always come back, SpongeBob. I think, interestingly, lately, the field and all that may be part of it has come up a lot more in conversation, especially since Secret of the Mimic, of course.
Gibby's fault.
Partly Gibby's fault. Thanks to Gibby, Mr. Gibson. I won't dox myself here, but I live in the same state as Gibby, so I could always kidnap him and like make him pay.
He
for what
lives
he's done.
on the horror homestead.
I do. I crawl beneath the ground. But anyway.
They were roommates.
It's been interesting trying to like apply that concept of the field to the entirety of FNAF. Because you can apply it to just the entire series, and it sort of fits in a way. You're adjusting like, okay, we're gonna solve this by applying the field. Kind of like how people like to take the Mimic and like, it was the Mimic the entire time.
I would never do something like that.
Oh, Mr. Baby Chip.
Yeah.
The thing about the field and why it's a little bit strenuous is that it is literally a real world concept. For those who don't know, the field, it's called the 0 point field, by the way. We just shortened it down to the field.
That's what
the
the
0
book's
point
called.
field is actually a real world concept in quantum physics. And the thing about quantum physics is that it's all very theoretical.
It's specifically a pseudo-scientific concept in quantum physics.
It is a pseudo-scientific, and it ties into like this. Don't take my word on it, because I'm not a certified quantum physicist. But from what I can understand, or off the top of my head anyway, it plays a lot into the idea of your consciousness influencing reality, and everything being connected in the universe, yada yada yada. Of course, the 0 point field is not a literal. It's an empty space. It is a vacuum of space. It's like the empty area between.
It's
I
like
want to say physical area.
It's a force.
I guess like you could just say the force.
It is basically the force. Yeah.
Yes. It is. I know specifically too. It does tie into like the idea of psychic stuff or whatever, of course. And my question to you before I get into like what I might be making a theory on soon, or coming out soon, hopefully.
Right.
How do you interpret the field in terms of like how it applies to FNAF?
Okay, so lucky for you, Fetch is one of the few Fazbear Fright stories I actually have read. I view the field, it's sort of this like overarching like scientific quote unquote explanation for how like paranormal activity works in FNAF, which is like consciousness, memories affecting reality, right? Like you see that in like Remnant and Agony and everything.
And
and stuff.
I mean, how I have. So let me move over to stone tape theory briefly. So again, for those who don't know, stone tape theory is another real world concept. I say concept loosely though, because it is also.
I say real world loosely. Yeah.
It is also a pseudo-scientific claim that ghosts and hauntings occur when traumatic events are imprinted on certain stones or other materials and are subsequently replayed, similar to a magnetic tape recording, like a film recording, whatever. I literally read that. I had the website pulled up because I was writing my script. But it's interesting because that is literally, unironically, kind of Remnant and Agony, right?
Yeah, like almost exactly.
That idea of literally almost exactly the concept of like, oh, traumatic events or tragic events that happened in these areas, particularly for FNAF Freddy Fazbear's, and then the memory or like whatever the negative energy, aka agony, of that event like taints the physical environment. And even in like, I forget the book, but in Fazbear Frights, you have Professor Taggart or whatever, and he is collecting items specifically from like environments that had tragic events happen around them. So I know off the top of my head, like he got like torture devices, he had weapons or like items that were near sites of murder, and then also party plates with one of them. I think the implication would be like, he got like Fetch's battery and whatnot.
Well, you got all the parts to build the Stitch Wraith.
Exactly.
My name is Taggart. I built the Stitch Wraith. It was difficult to put the pieces together.
I mean, Stitch Wraith feels like a proto. I'm gonna get flamed.
Everything feels like a proto mimic.
With your baby chip, I bet it does. But it's interesting because again, like that is just literally agony, or like agony is literally stone tape theory.
Yeah.
And how I tie that back. Oh, this is a small little side note. I mentioned it yesterday when we played Marvel. I was now Raven, I think. Fun little fact: there is, or used to be anyway, an actual society called the Society for Psychical Research, or SPR for short. And they're sort of like instead of just calling it stone tape theory, there's also like another name for it called place memory. Which,
we got the fancy name for it.
Yeah, place memory. And the two SPR involved investigators, when it came to like, oh, what is this? Because that's the thing about stone tape theory, is that it was supposed to be a reasonable and scientific explanation for what ghosts and hauntings are.
Oh, yeah, seems very reasonable to me.
Yeah, it's very reasonable. And the whole concept behind it is that it's not ghosts or it's not the paranormal necessarily. It's that idea of like the memory of that tragic event is lasting and being replayed.
There are no ghosts in FNAF.
It's all William Afton. He's projecting. It's all a projection.
It's all a projection. Five Nights at Freddy's is a projection.
It's Scott Cawthon's projection.
This is the new dream theory. Projection theory.
I was talking with my cousin about that the other day, is that you could technically make a pseudo, maybe not a sequel to Dream Theory, but a spiritual successor to Dream Theory through like the 0 point field and stuff. But the two SPR involved investigators, when it came down to saying no ghosts exist, Edmund Gurney which Five Below Edwin Murray. Like, yeah, it's Edmund, EDMUND, and then GURNEY, which again could be coincidence.
I wouldn't even be that surprised if Scott actually did that, because I mean, like, Dr. Taggart and Talbert are named after like real people. Like, Dr. Taggart is named after Lynn McTaggart, like the real woman who like invented the field, or she wrote a book about it.
That's so fire. I didn't know that. There's also the second SPR investigator was Eleanor Sidwick, which Eleanor. I wouldn't be surprised.
I definitely think Scott like genuinely did research on stone tape theory, because
considering how close it is to Agony, it has
well, yeah,
to be,
and a lot of the stuff in the Fazbear Frights, like the Stitchline stuff with Dr. Taggart, a lot of it is based on like real life, like pseudoscience experiments and stuff. Like he does this, like Dr. Taggart does this experiment where he projects his emotions onto like snowflakes, and he creates like an agony snowflake.
What the heck?
Well, he's like growing ice crystals and then projecting his like thoughts onto them, like different emotions onto them, and he creates like this crazy agony snowflake. And that is based that is based directly on a real experiment that a man called Dr. Emoto did on ice crystals.
That's really interesting, actually. Total side note, but I just thought about it, and I always wanted to look more into it, but I actually lost the video, because I know there was a video that exists. There is a little known theory that I'm surprised, I don't even know if it's necessarily like a big theory, or it could be classified as a theory necessarily. But there is a theory that certain aspects of FNAF, particularly regarding the remnant experimentation and so on and so forth, that it might be based off of certain military, like government top secret projects that have gone on in real life. Do you know that one when they were doing like, I think it was the 10th anniversary or whatever, they released like script pages?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Guess which one was the
one of them
one
was like the military.
Yeah. Can't believe the military is in bed with like Fazbear Entertainment or whatever.
The funny thing is that would just be the plot of a short story in one of the books.
I honestly, to be fair, it's always the question of where are they gonna take FNAF next? Like, what are we gonna do after the Pizzaplex and whatever?
After the mimic, I think they should just fully jump the shark. We should bring in the military. We should have like animatronic kaiju battles.
Yeah. Like militarized Freddy Fazbear. Come on, like make it happen.
Okay, well, I say that, but there's literally a giant trash Afton kaiju in Fazbear Frights.
Yeah, to be fair, sister location was a jump the shark, and it's just been increasingly jumping the shark.
Just jumping, Felix the shark. We jump the shark there. Yeah. If Freddy legitimately goes to space in the next game, I will throw my hands up and say cinema.
I don't know about the next game, but give it maybe like 3 or 4 more. I feel like we will get a serious lore heavy Freddy in space game where, I don't know, we're playing Michael Afton and I have to stop my father from, I don't know, enacting agony worldwide.
Well, it is interesting. The first Freddy in Space game he released is weirdly similar to the plot of Secret of the Mimic.
The one from FNAF World?
No, the Freddy in Space 2, the first like full game he released.
I don't think I know it exists. I saw like
if I'm remembering correctly, yeah, he created it for that charity stream. But if I'm remembering correctly, right, the plot of the game is that Freddy has a son, right?
Oh no.
And like the main villain of the game is this like AI computer program named Lolhacks. Who, and I might be remembering this completely incorrectly, I'm pretty sure was created to babysit Freddy's son, and then went haywire.
Freddy in Space 2 Lolhacks. Yeah, okay, I've looked it up. Let's see. Roll was created to watch over Freddy's son during a space mission in which Freddy was absent, but at some point it went rogue and turned against Freddy, brainwashing Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy, and the puppet. It trapped Freddy's son in space, leaving him to die from a lack of oxygen. Knowing that Freddy would try to rescue his friends and son, Lolhacks created legions of monsters to stop him. It, however, failed, because Freddy defeated the monsters and rescued Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, and the puppet.
Okay, at least the
And-
first part is the mimic. I don't know about the rest of that.
To be fair, created legions of monsters. FNAF AR.
Sister location? No.
Lolhax is also in Phazzoblast. Interesting. Actually, David wasn't hit by a car. David was hit by Lolhax. David
Mimic.
is in space! The Mimic put David in space. That's where we're going next game. I take everything I said back.
It's all coming together.
But going back to the whole Stone Tape Theory thing in Agony, like we said, very mightily similar. And I always like to point out that, because I feel like it's something to get slept on a lot, there is a surprising amount of pop culture in FNAF,
Yeah.
if you know what I mean by that. Would
Oh,
it be
yeah.
like references or inspirations
The
or whatever?
Whopper.
What? Oh, yeah, the machine. Yeah, I heard Whopper. I was thinking of like the Burger King.
That's what I
like-
was doing. I was doing the Burger King
I was
jingle.
like, when did FNAF partner with Burger King? I'm like, wait a minute.
Well,
I mean,
then,
they
like-
could've, they did Popeyes.
I'm pretty sure at this point that the plot of Secret the Mimic was at least partially inspired by the Stepford Wives.
What's that? I've never heard of that. Speak to me.
It was originally a book, right? And God, I have to do a plot synopsis. So this family.
Oh, I have to talk on my podcast.
Okay. So this family moves into this new town called Stepford. And so the story follows like the mother of the family. And she starts noticing like this town is really weird. It has this like men's association. And she notices like all of the women in the town, she starts to notice act overly subservient to their husbands. They're just like these perfect housewives.
Reminds me of Get Out.
And then she has this friend who is very like rebellious, and she does not act anything like the other woman in Stepford. But then one day she gets changed, and she becomes this like perfect wife bot. And so then the main character starts to think like, oh god, like they're replacing the woman, they're doing something to them, right? I mean, this isn't the whole plot. There's a lot of other stuff going on, but then we learn that they are replacing the wives in Stepford with robots. And like one of the guys, like one of the men that lives there, he like made animatronics for Disney World.
Wow.
So it's like, yeah, I 100% think that Secret the Mimic took inspiration from that story.
No, I'm not. When you say Disney animatronics, like a guy who made Disney, and that makes a lot of sense. I'm not surprised. It feels like, especially, interestingly, because you mentioned like the Whopper, and that's from an old movie. But then you have that one, like the other ending in Security Breach Ruin, where you go up to like the Fredbear cutout, you put on the mask, and it's a hallucination or illusion or whatever. In the game files, it's called the Brazil ending.
Yeah.
And it's a reference to another old movie where there's a guy that's like trapped in a fake reality or whatever. I don't know the actual plot of the movie.
I haven't heard about this.
Oh, you haven't heard about this?
No.
That ending in Ruin is a reference to another old movie called. Is it called Brazil? I don't remember the
It's
name of.
just
No, it's
called
not. That's not the
Brazil.
name of the movie. That's not the name of the movie, but it's like a reference in the movie or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the plot of the movie, if I recall correctly, is about the main character of the film is trapped in like a fake reality or whatever, and still it's like an Inception Matrix type of thing. The movie
Yeah.
is called Brazil, I think.
Yeah,
Is it
Brazil,
called Brazil?
1985.
Okay.
It's what I'm seeing in chat. They
Yeah,
could be
yeah,
lying
thank
to
you,
me
yeah.
though.
The government like takes a guy and gets trapped and he gets trapped in his dream.
Interesting. I mean,
Okay.
is that not the plot of Ruin?
I mean, they literally like maybe more or less happens in Ruin.
A lot of
mean,
people
that's the
getting
thing.
trapped in virtual reality.
To get information out of him while he's unconscious. Okay,
Mm.
that's interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
lots of references to like 80s movies, which, you know,
Yeah.
that's when Scott Cawthon
Even-
was a boy.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's much as people like to hop on it, and I know Maury's been like, In the Flesh is actually not that bad, or at least it gets a lot of the other aspects of it get overlooked a lot.
Oh yeah,
So-
in the flesh
Oh, no.
genuinely has like lore implications.
Oh yeah, people just like to boil it down to the whole map pet and prig thing. But what I just remembered is that the whole like busting out of the stomach thing, it's just a reference to like the original Alien movie with the xenomorph. Because I think
Yeah.
Scott went on the record to say like his favorite movie or whatever was Alien.
Yeah.
The original
And for
Alien
the
movie.
record, the Stepford Wives, the first movie came out in 1975.
Interested. Definitely of like that era. And
Yeah.
I brought it up before that I actually might make a video on this. But the connections between FNAF, particularly in regards to how the paranormal and supernatural work, and then also stuff in like Stephen King's works. I was doing that stream with Narraven the other day, and it was with Fred, and he talked about like, oh, he wanted to do the same thing but never got around to it. It's like the Overlook Plex,
Yeah.
because the Overlook Hotel and the Pizza Plex have a few similarities, and I very much agree with that. And it just goes to show, even in Secret of the Mimic, you can apply the same thing. I mean, look at that. I think when you go to like the welcome area lobby or whatever, when you enter the building,
Oh
the
yeah,
carpet,
the carpet in MCM
similar.
is 100% a reference to The Shining.
Yeah, like
it was like,
well,
wasn't it? It was literally like the first thing they showed in like the first teaser was the carpeting.
Mm-hmm. Didn't Pennywise also reference that with the new show? What reference what? Here's the thing about Stephen King's works is that they're all like connected in like the same universe or whatever. At least
well, I mean,
a lot
not
of them take
all
place
of them.
in the
Yeah,
same
a
universe.
lot of them are.
Like It and The Shining take place in the same universe. You literally had a in the show that came out recently for It, and then also the original book, character from The Shining appears called Doc Halloran, and he's like an actual psychic. He has that ability called the Shine or whatever, that gives him like psychic abilities.
And we can talk on Scott Cawthon all we want. Stephen King has self-admittedly, he made his stories up on the spot too. So.
Oh, it's like a kind of infamous story that when the dude wrote It, he was like actually high out of his mind on like crack or whatever. That story's kind of wild. Like he does not remember writing It because he was like bonged out, dude. But I think tying Stone Tape Theory and the field together, which I think you can do. Now, it's a little bit difficult to explain, so bear with me. Again, we're dealing with actual quantum physics here, which, by the way, can we talk about how wild it is that we have to learn quantum physics to talk about FNAF? Like, I've started to explain this to my cousin, because my cousin has, like, a mild interest in the engagement of FNAF lore or whatever. And I was trying to explain to him actual quantum mechanics, and he's just like, dude, what are you on? What are you talking? There's no way that they're making you do quantum mechanics for the Pizza Bear game.
They totally are.
So the 0 point field has a lot to do with thoughts and memories and yada yada yada. And so if you are able to interact with the 0 point field through your consciousness, which again we see in FNAF, like correct me if I'm wrong, but the Fetch animatronic and then what's his face, Greg, I believe his name is, like they have some sort of connection in the book, like something along those lines.
Yeah, well, the main also, character basically like summons Fetch almost.
Yeah,
in a way.
And but you were even mentioning it earlier that Taggart was like projecting his thoughts or emotions onto snow crystals. So that's literally like a fieldism or whatever. Now take that concept and apply it with like Stone Tape Theory. That idea of like, oh, the agony-filled memory or whatever of tragic events like being replayed and lingering in certain locations that those like events took place.
Yeah, like it all connects.
It does, like it all connects, and it makes sense, as confusing as it is. And it does explain. There was a document I found. I make a joke about it in my video because
it's called the
really
Talbert Files.
No, it's a
great document.
Give me a minute here because it's really funny. I did find a document that read in detail about the field, and it was very helpful. It was made by a guy named Monologue on Reddit, and then special thanks to, do you want to guess who?
Is it fucking M-Tom?
Yeah, it was M-Tom. I'm like, oh, you gotta
dude,
be
you're gonna be citing M-Tom in your upcoming video, is what I'm hearing.
Special thanks to M-Tom.
My favorite creator, M-Tom. I love him so much. Scott Cawthon is lying to you. Dude, I gotta get M-Tom on this podcast.
Edward Snowden?
I feel like I recognize the name.
You probably have heard of him before. He had to escape the country because of something wild. I don't remember the exacts, but I wouldn't be surprised if Tom had to do the same thing because, oh god, Scott Cawthon's hunting me down now. I gotta
Scott Cawthon got the Pinkertons on his. I would do an interview with Tom. I actually want to so bad because I just want to know. I want to know what was going on inside of his head, man.
It's so funny that that whole thing blew up as much as it did. It's like looking back on it a lot of the time, it's like, oh well, why did we ever think this was real or whatever, or like why did we fall for this? It's like such a clear hoax. And it's funny because I don't think we'll ever have a hoax like that ever again. I think the closest we came to was like Chica's secret party or whatever.
One of these days I need to actually sit down and read the Talbot files.
I don't know if I still have it. I downloaded it like forever ago. I mean, it's interesting, but it's one of those things where it's like, oh, this is almost too perfect. It's like, yeah okay, yeah, it was like.
What if Scott Cawthon sat down and wrote a book that gave us the answers to everything? Wouldn't that be great, guys?
That's like the real red flag. Why would Scott Cawthon ever do that? Come on.
Exactly.
Man. He needs to make an entire.
I think that's why. That's why people wanted to believe in it because they were desperate for answers at the time, right? This was like.
Yeah.
When was this? Like right after the release of like Security Breach, somewhere
Talbot
around
Files?
there. I honestly have no idea.
I mean, Talbot Files was a big thing.
Like, before Secret of the Mimic, so people were very confused.
Yeah. That was like early 2025.
I was off FNAF at that time, so I never really learned all that much about it.
You took a break from FNAF?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've been on and off for 11 years.
No, you're not allowed.
There was a good couple of years there I was embarrassed about it, and I pretended I didn't like it. I convinced myself.
I think that's a lot of people like nowadays, actually, is especially after the second movie, where they're kind of like, "Oh my god, I'm embarrassed to be a FNAF fan." And to be fair, I don't blame people for that.
Nah, the more camp, the better. That's what I say. Actually, I wish the movie was worse. No.
I guess that's another question. What was your thoughts on the movie?
I don't know if I just have bad taste. Like maybe I can't tell what a good and bad movie is. Right? But I honestly thought, not even from like the perspective of like, oh, the fans will love this. Like I thought it was genuinely like a good movie.
Really?
Yeah.
I saw it on December 4th, so like technically a day before opening. And there was a very packed theater. Definitely one of those movies. Here's the thing with like video game movies, especially when they have like a big fan base. The theater experience is always going to be enjoyable because you have all those fans there that are kind of just happy to be there with other fans.
You know, it was enjoyable. Some of the cheering was. There were some annoying people in my theater.
Oh, I've heard some stories.
I need to tell my FNAF movie story because a lot went on that day. So I went over to my friend's apartment, and he had a couple of other friends over that I didn't really know. We sat down, we watched the first movie, right? And then we went to go see the movie. We went to the movie theater, right? So this was on like the official opening day. But this guy, little did he know, the theater we were going to was doing screenings a day early. And he booked tickets for the day before. And also, apparently, yeah, the movie theater like didn't send him like the confirmation email for his tickets either. We had to stand there for like 20 minutes at the front desk just to confirm that he bought any tickets. Eventually, we got new tickets for like a later screening. The only seats that were available that night were like in like the third row, like all the way off to the right. So not very good seats. And there was a moment there where he was like, I don't know, guys, we might just have to come back another day. And I went, no. We are seeing this movie. I don't care where I'm sitting.
Yeah.
And so we went into the movie theater, started watching the movie at like 10 o'clock. And you know, like there were moments in the movie that were very hype and like people were cheering, and I was fine with that. Like at the end when like all the classics came in like Avengers style, people were cheering like crazy.
My favorite.
But there was this guy sitting in front of us who would just talk like literally during like dialogue scenes. And I'm trying to listen to what they're saying, and this guy's just saying like random things. He said 6'7" at one point. I hate to say it, I could not stop myself from giggling. I tried so hard. And he kept making like fart noises randomly. just
added to the
just in the middle of the movie. But I mean, you know, I could have had a worse experience. I got to see the movie. That's all that matters.
The second time I saw the movie, the first time I saw it with my cousin, then the second time I went with a few friends. There were two different sets of people that were bringing in like McDonald's to eat when they were watching the movie. Thankfully, my theater, the theaters I went to, were actually pretty docile for all intents and purposes. There was like some muttering and mumbling about like what was going on in the movie, like "Ooh, look at that." But otherwise, it was pretty decent. So I have to ask, because I did enjoy the movie, but it's like it's one of those movies where if you turn your brain off, it's a lot better. But then when you look at like the actual narrative structure and like what happens in the movie, it falls apart very quickly.
Nah, lies.
Unfortunately, lies is perfectly cohesive
it has a weak third act. What are you talking about? What does that even mean?
Oh, come on. But like, so my question for you is that although you enjoyed the movie, would you point out the flaws and say like, "Oh yeah, that's rough, kiddo"?
I mean, it has flaws. There are flaws. I can point to them.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's it didn't kill my grandma, you know?
But what if it did?
That I probably wouldn't like it.
Okay, I see how it is.
I don't like when things kill my grandma, usually. Just sort of a weird thing about me, yeah. She keeps coming back and then getting killed by something new. She's basically William Afton. It's crazy.
The baby chip killed my grandma.
I always come back, Sonny.
So when it comes to lore from the movies, like how seriously do you take them for that?
Not seriously, really at all.
Really? So like,
well, I mean, I
when
think
they say
there are some things that I'm like,
died in 1982.
I don't think she died in 1982. I think she died first. I think the biggest thing I think that you can take away from the movies is honestly the characterization of the characters.
What I was about to say.
Because people, I know people were mad about Michael in the movie. I honestly think that's what Michael's like in the games. I don't think that was entirely off base. I mean, well, not one to one, but I don't think it was like this wild mischaracterization. You know, like people act like it is.
No. I can full-heartedly see like Michael Afton in the games being a bit of like a unstable freak or whatever, considering who his dad is. But here's the thing: is that, and this is always like when I'm trying to explain this to people, keep in mind. Michael Afton and Mike Schmidt, no matter how much people might try to argue it, because I know that was a thing after the second movie came out. Oh, there's two different Mikes in the games now. That's not. Yeah. No. Come on, have some media literacy.
It's Mike Tosis. They split.
Michael Afton, in the movies, is a segment of that character. And then Mike Schmidt in the movies is another section of that character. And to like maybe a lesser extent, you could also say like, Vanessa has Mike-ism as well, but that's also because Vanessa in the games has Mike-isms.
Yeah.
So if you take the character of Michael Afton from the movie, then also Mike Schmidt from the movie, you place them together, you have Michael Afton from the games. That is that complete character. And so, is Michael Afton in the movies a mischaracterization? No. I think what it comes down to is that a lot of people have sort of a misunderstanding when it comes to a lot of characters in the franchise, particularly Michael Afton and William Afton, of course.
Well, I remember watching the movie, the like dream sequence with Vanessa, with William. I was just sitting there having all of my headcanons about William Afton be confirmed. I felt so vindicated.
Don't you know I care about you?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't you know you're my favorite?
Like, it feels so on the nose. It almost feels like Scott was intentionally addressing Will Care.
Don't you know I will care about you?
Will Care confirmed by the FNAF 2 movie? I think the character Michael Afton in the movie is a lot more nuanced than people treat him to. He's not like pure evil.
No, it's just, like misguided or whatever, being mentally abused by a dad that, not a nice guy. And so it is like, I saw the comparison between him and Elizabeth Afton. It is similar. And the reason it's similar is because, they're all Afton
They're siblings,
children. and Michael Afton never had Garrett.
Mhm.
I think it is fair to say that Garrett is very similar to the Crying
Oh, for
Child,
sure.
even if it's not the same character or whatever.
Mhm.
From a narrative sense, for at least Michael, sorry, Michael as in Mike Schmidt, it serves the same purpose. Like Mike Schmidt has that guilt and that remorse over his brother's death, where he didn't cause it, in that continuity, but he still, that concept is there. Whereas Michael Afton did not have that sort of,
Mhm.
the bite of 83 didn't happen, so he never had the like, wait, maybe killing is wrong. Maybe this is a bad idea.
I will say, right, in the movie, there are these moments. So the first like, so he's luring the people around in the pizzeria, right? And the first person who
Right.
dies like he is in the other room. He just hears it happen and he's laughing about it. But then
Yeah.
I think there are these two moments. The two times he actually watches somebody die in that scene, he looks like horrified. The way I interpret that scene is like this is the first time he's actually like seen someone die.
Mm.
So I
I would
genuinely think they are setting Michael up in the movies for some kind of, I don't know if redemption arc is the right word, but like for some sort of like he'll like end up turning against his father and make a heroic sacrifice in the end or something. That sort of thing. I don't.
No, I mean, I believe that it's gonna be something like that.
Yeah. And honestly, I think they're going to combine FNAF 3 and FNAF 6 into one.
Oh yeah.
Because, I mean, if we're
Yeah.
trying to streamline the story of FNAF, just turn the two fires into one fire. Boom.
I totally think, yeah, it's gonna be like a FNAF 3-6 thing, but I feel like they're gonna somehow shoehorn the fourth closet into it. I didn't take Garrett, I took you. And then he's gonna be like, oh, Mike bots, like Mike Schmidt is
Yeah.
actually secretly an Afton.
The whole, like, circumstances around Garrett are very strange. Like, William drove, like, 2 states over to kidnap this random child from a campsite.
Yeah.
That's not exactly his
The
MO.
sad part about it is that I don't think we'll ever get an answer. I think it is actual mystery slop. If they're really going to, because I know I joked about like, oh, the fourth closet, but with how the other movies share a lot of like, at least like a few similarities between, the Silver Eyes, the Twisted Ones. They seem to be very loosely based off of a lot of concepts from those. Even the plot point of like,
even the
Mike
games
Schmidt
are based
and Garrett.
loosely on the novels.
Oh, okay, well now you gotta die. But
Okay, Secret of the Mimic is the fourth closet, bro.
No.
At least the
I mean,
origins of the Mimic, like the specific events that, led to the Mimic becoming the way it is, are very similar to Fourth Closet
yeah.
and the Charlie Bot.
No, to be fair, there are similarities, and I've talked about that before. Like, oh, John FNAF made an actually really good theory about how, like, particularly like FNAF World and then like the novel trilogy.
John
It feels like
FNAF
those kind of
is the
concepts from
greatest
those
theorist on Earth.
can
He
totally
makes
work out.
MatPat look like a worm.
There we go. But like the concept of Mike losing his brother at a young age, and like, oh, it's some guy or whatever that like kidnapped him or something. It's very similar to Charlie and Sammy in the Silver Eyes in a way. And like going back to like, oh, I feel like I'm closer to Garrett when I'm near Freddy's. And then in the Twisted One, she's like, I feel Sammy somewhere. I have to find him. It's all very similar, like kind of character beats or whatever.
I get the feeling they're gonna reveal that Garrett is inside of Golden Freddy, honestly. I feel like they are teasing at there being 2 spirits inside of Golden Freddy. Because why does only one of his eyes glow? What other reason would they do that?
Because he's sad.
It's Scott Cawthon's just trying to troll us.
What I noticed, if I recall correctly, Golden Freddy's eye in the first movie.
He's got the Sans eye.
Yeah, he has the Sans eye. It's in his right eye specifically, and then Springtrap in the the post credit scene, his left eye is the one that's glowing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: if they really want to go down the route of like explaining anything about Garrett, I feel like having him be the other soul inside Golden Freddy is the only like realistic. Because anything else would probably be too complex for the movie.
Imagine they reveal that there's actually a spirit side of the Spring Bonnie suit.
And it's gonna be Andrew.
That actually, now that I think about it, that is interesting. Has the community ever considered that the Spring Bonnie suit was possessed before William Afton got Springlock?
As in, like, he stuffed his kid inside
Yeah.
before. So I think that's probably been discussed before. I don't know, like, at what length, but I think it was probably something that came up, like, during Andrew discussions, where, like, oh,
Andrew is Springtrap.
Well, that or, like, that's how, like, he's able to trap Afton in UCN after FNAF 6, because they are sharing the same suit. My worry for that film is that they're going to combine 2 games and then layer the 4th closet on top of it. Now, I hope to God they don't do something like, oh, Vanessa bots or whatever.
No, they're
'cause
gonna
that would be
combine
really
3 games. They're gonna put Sister Location in there too.
That's even like I briefly forgot about that, but you're so right. If they really decide to make use of like Circus Baby, that's a whole other thing. But like, I hope to God that they actually don't incorporate Circus Baby. How much the movie's gonna be juggling. At the very least, I also, if they, I swear, if they killed Henry in that post-credit scene, I will actually, like, please God, don't have him be dead already. Come on, make use of the actual character. But, like, you have Mike Schmidt, you have Abby, you have Springtrap, you have Vanessa possessed by the puppet, which, you know, Charlie, and, you know, we'll say Henry's there somewhere.
She has the puppet
likely.
inside of her, dog.
You have Michael Afton. You have all of these moving parts as is. It's going to be a really... I hope they increase the runtime, because this movie had a really short runtime.
You know, that Circus Baby animatronic was really, really well made for something that only appears for a couple of seconds.
For the 5-second cameo, they pulled out all the stops for Circus Baby.
Yeah.
Literally the most accurate design they have produced. Insane.
Well, they're going to keep her around for when they create the Sister Location movie.
That's what I think. No, that's unironically, like, I wouldn't be surprised if they go past 3 movies.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how they do it for FNAF 4.
I doubt that would be a whole movie.
Really?
I mean, I guess if you, like, actually, like, showed the crying child's death.
I mean, that's a question.
If it was
like,
just about, like, the bite of 83. Because that's, like, the plot of FNAF 4. The night gameplay doesn't have a plot. You're just having spooky nightmares.
To be fair, the FNAF 2 movie doesn't share a lot of similarities with its plot to, like, the game. I mean, the game takes place in 1987, you know? And then, I mean, that was, like, an open pizzeria, too. So,
yeah.
If they change the plot, but, like, keep the idea behind, like, the nightmares or, like, nightmare animatronics, I feel like you could do something. But no, I honestly do think, like, Circus Baby is just, like, They'd also
kind of need the crying child to exist to do a FNAF 4 movie.
Okay, that's the thing, is that if they felt inclined to, like, directly adapt Michael Afton, it's not out of the realm of possibility that they'd, like, okay, let's do Elizabeth as well.
Yeah.
And, like, maybe even the crying child.
Because that's the thing, right? Like, when the first movie came out, I think people sort of assumed that, like, Vanessa in the movies is an analog to Michael in the games, and Mike Schmidt's just his own thing. But then, you know, the second movie comes out, and Michael Afton is there. So it's like, maybe the Afton family in the movie universe is just going to be one-to-one with the games.
Unfortunately, I do think that's it.
And maybe Vanessa is an Afton, after all.
Oh yeah, she is. Yeah. I mean, I got convinced of that after, like, Nary Raven's video.
Yeah. I think the thing that fully convinced me of that was Freddy Carter being revealed to be playing Michael Afton in the movie.
Looking back on it, I'm kind of like, yeah, hindsight's 2020, yeah.
Yeah.
When Vanessa is an Afton in the movie, why would she not be one, like, in the games, you know? Because it feels like, I know it's like, oh, you know, don't take the movies at face value or whatever, but also...
Yeah. Why would they do that? Why wouldn't it just be Elizabeth, an adult Elizabeth or something? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, literally, right? Like, you could have just had it be Elizabeth.
It could have just been Michael.
Yeah, like, Mike Schmidt and Michael Afton get it on, I guess, you know, like, that weird situationship. But, I mean, like, making Vanessa and Afton in the films feels like it's, you know, in a way, its own, like, soft confirmation.
How we didn't, like, listen to the therapy tapes where Vanessa says she had an abusive father named Bill A. and immediately go, guys, I think she might be William Afton's daughter.
The other thing what do you think Michael Afton is just Jeremy in the games?
I don't know, man.
I do.
Did Michael get bit?
To be fair, the game never specifically says that Jeremy was the bite victim.
True.
As weird as it is, it could have been another employee or whatever. But the reason I bring it up is because they feel inclined to. I mean, I guess you could chuck it up to, like, one of the flaws of the movie, but they're like, okay, Mike has to play FNAF 2. Not the chick that would be more familiar with how these systems work, because it's Vanessa. Her dad owned the place. We gotta have Mike play FNAF 2.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder why.
I mean, I think Mike was at the FNAF 2 location. I don't know if he was Jeremy.
Ticket to Fun, he has Jeremy Fitzgerald's chick.
A long time ago, I just sort of said, yeah, Michael's the protagonist of all the games.
Oh, yeah.
I just want that to be true, so it is, actually.
To be fair,
it's not like it's unsubstantiated, but, like, I've never been convinced otherwise, I guess.
My thought process there is also, like, Michael is the answer to the question, why do you keep coming back every night?
Mm-hmm.
Because, who would stay there for more than a night or 2 nights at most? The only reason you would is if you have, like, a personal stake in the matter.
Mm-hmm.
Also, as a smaller point, you could also chalk it up to just gameplay, to be fair. Most of the games after FNAF 6, barring, like, for example, I think Into the Pit is 5 nights, but also, not canon. But most of the games after FNAF 6 only last a single night as opposed to 5 nights, because most of the games, you're not coming back repeatedly to Freddy's. You're trying to get the hell out of there.
And it's interesting, every game after Pizzeria Sim has, like, an explicit protagonist.
Oh, yeah. Like, you see it, you're very clearly Hudson.
Of course.
Yeah, and then Help Wanted, you're, of course, like, Vanessa.
I guess the only one that's not, like, as explicit is Help Wanted 2, but, like, it's pretty easy to put the pieces together.
Yeah, it's, like, definitely not playing Mike in
it
that
was
one.
not difficult to put the pieces together.
This was actually, speaking on the topic of, like, the characters, because this is always, like, my favorite topic to talk about, is, because we did touch on, like, mischaracterization and headcanons when it comes to people, like, the characters in FNAF.
Yes.
YouTuber I really like, who I think has a very strong interpretation of these characters, they're called Bunkabon, and they did these videos where they break down, the characters of, like, Michael and William, and I think they did one for Elizabeth as well. We're, like, judging off the voice lines and giving the voice lines a lot of attention, which is the voice lines in FNAF, especially, like, ever since they were introduced, they became a very important part of theorizing, because you get a lot of story from voice lines, whether, like, directly or vaguely or otherwise. But a lot of the time, there has been, like, misinterpretations of what some voice lines mean.
Yeah.
And kind of, let's say, stretching the information, or, like, stretching the implication more so. Just off the top of my head, this is a very simple one. I never thought about it until I really, like, watched the video. There's a line in FNAF 6 that Springtrap has. It's like, that was easier than I thought it would be. And I always thought that was just kind of like a taunt at the player. I didn't think much of it. But actually, when you think about it, it's saying that, wow, it was easier to kill my own child than I thought it would be.
Oh.
I'm like, oh. That actually does make sense.
Yeah. Specifically, his characterization in FNAF 6 as Scraptrap is very interesting to me. Because it definitely, like, it peels back the, like, layers of aura farming he was doing in FNAF 3 and, like, shows him for who he really is, I think I understand what Scott was going for with Scraptrap's design. I feel like it is kind of supposed to be sort of pathetic and stupid looking. Like, it is...
In a way, man.
It is, we had this cool, swaggered out Springtrap in FNAF 3, and now, we get to FNAF 6, he's just completely decrepit, falling apart, desperately hanging on to the last shreds of life left in him. And he's just this sort of sad, pathetic... He's a lot more human. You could see a lot more of his body underneath the suit. It's William Afton stripped away. All of his facades are gone. A lot of his lines, he's almost trying to, like, convince the player he's still cool. Like, he's like, oh, I knew this was a deception. No, you didn't. Why are you here, man?
I'm going to come back as the mimic Michael. You're totally right. I think FNAF 6 is, like, the facade stripped back. I saw one interpretation a little bit ago that actually was kind of fun. For as crappy as a design as Scraptrap is, Like that is like more of a suit as opposed to being an actual animatronic.
Yeah.
Like there's no mechanical stuff going on in there. It is a choice for William to put on that suit, assuming they, of course, like
Mm-hmm.
meta redesign. But I feel like it is like an in-universe. Like he took
Yeah.
off the Springtrap suit, unfortunately,
Oh.
then like put on Jimmy Neutron. And for again, as weird as like the design looks, it is like a suit, and it's like this is me. I mean, that's always been like a narrative kind of not theme.
I genuinely think there are good ideas behind the Scraptrap design. Scott just couldn't execute it properly because he can't model humans well. It could have been a good design. Like I've seen a lot of great redesigns that are still very faithful to what Scraptrap is meant to be, that look better just because it looks like a human being.
Yeah. So I want to see as a Dead by Daylight player, an avid Dead by Daylight player, I'd like to see Scraptrap in the game because I feel like the design model
for sure.
behavior interactive. Oh yeah. The other thing I want to mention in regards to like Scraptrap is that when you compare that performance and those lines in that game to like a lot of the other appearances after the fact, it is a lot less theatrical and like dramatic and grandiose, like compared to like Dead by Daylight, right? Like he's so happy to be there. It's like, the darkest pit of hell is open for business.
Well, it's like, almost like he's still trying to perform, but it's a lot easier to see through.
Yeah. I think it depends on the player character. So like because you are playing as Michael in FNAF 6, you kind of, maybe from Michael's perspective, William might not necessarily feel inclined to be as theatrical, let's say. It's a lot more honest in a sense because of who the player character is, and is like bittersweet but fitting. I know when again the Bonkabon video, which I do recommend people check out because it's a very good video. It's like bittersweet but fitting is a very interesting line. Not will care, but it's like well that's bittersweet but very fitting because I got to kill my own son. And the whole like, Michael killed the crying child, and Elizabeth died. Elizabeth was an accident.
Also, Michael tried to kill him.
Yeah, and it also plays into this idea like, William enjoys symmetry. Symmetry, my friend. First I killed your brother, now I kill you.
And I genuinely think there is, and I don't know if evidence is necessarily right words, but there are ways we can like know what William is like. It is not like a complete mystery. One of the main things that really like nailed in for me what William was like is, weirdly enough, Secret of the Mimic. Just knowing the kind of like super predatory businessman he was, even like before he started killing, really like just set in stone in my head what like my conception of William Afton, because it all goes back to like objectifying people, right?
Oh yeah,
that's what he does. What does Henry say? He humiliates, he degrades, he destroys.
He was definitely a misogynist.
So it's like
he definitely was.
I think right at the time of Secret of the Mimic, I don't think William Afton had killed yet. I don't think he had killing on the mind, but he was already this very, very predatory, very cutthroat businessman who already, you could already tell he viewed people as tools, as means to an end.
Yeah.
And
there was a description in the Silver Eyes that's always doesn't get enough love. It's like I think it's from the eyes of either John or Charlie. Like they're looking at William Afton or Dave Miller, and they're like, "This is a man who has been like backed into a corner." And I forget the exact description, but this was like a cornered animal lashing out for life, and like felt and believed that the world like owed him his like cruel dues or whatever. Like he was deserved, like what I get to do, killing people, killing children, I deserve this luxury or whatever.
When it's funny, right? Like his "I always come back" line is from before he died the first time.
To be fair, there was a misconception with that line. So the line wasn't even originally William Afton's, and this is another fun little trait about William Afton. he tends to steal other characters' lines. He does it to Michael, he does it to Nightmare, he does it to Nightmare Fredbear, he does it to Henry, and he did it to the children too. The line "I always come back," I believe, was originally in the FNAF 3 trailer. It was one of the things like pops up on screen like in those old trailers, like "oh, new and improved" or whatever. The original line is from the perspective of the children, and it is "he will come back, he always does."
Yeah.
And then I believe in the source code for like the FNAF 3 teasers afterward that they would show like, "oh, I always come back" or something.
Yeah.
But it was originally from the perspective of the children. And then in FNAF 6 is the first time he says that line. However, considering the original intention is, or the original perspective is of the children, and he had not died yet at that point, it's not referring to him coming back to life. It's referring to him coming back to Freddy's.
Yeah.
I think that's very. I think that the fact that you have different instances of William like stealing lines from other characters, it's very reflective of his business attitude. To be honest.
Well, yeah, he says that, right, and then it turns into "I will always come back to life. Like I will never die. You can never get rid of me. Even if you kill me, I won't go away.
I become the mimic." Yeah.
And I think it ties into a lot of the themes of FNAF, a lot of these ideas of like corporate indifference and like the mentality that William Afton has, this sort of like, this lack of empathy, viewing people as tools. It is a very corporate way of viewing people, right? The idea of like viewing other people as resources.
It's reflective of like the business itself. I mean, Fazbear Entertainment shares the founders' values,
and that stuff's all over FNAF. That is what Fazbear's all about.
One of my favorite themes, and as flawed as the second movie might be, it supports this more. So it's a very consistent theme in FNAF of like, oh, the business is trying to cover up its past misdeeds or like make light of it in a way. I mean, like Help 1 in the VR game, it was an elaborate cover up, like, haha, oh yeah, it's like it's satire. That's what it is. It's satire.
The existence of Help 1 is really funny because in universe, William Afton is still like, people know he did kill those kids. Like, I don't think that's like a disputed fact.
It depends. Like in the books, it's like, oh yeah, it's like the police were like, oh, we're pretty sure it's William Afton, but we never had enough evidence to convict him. So like, if you want to translate to the games, I think you definitely could. I think the games make it a little bit more vague, to say the least.
Those shows on Netflix about like the serial killers, like the Monster series?
Yeah.
They very like heavily sensationalize and like they just make stuff up too about these serial killers. Especially like the latest show. I forget who it was about exactly, but it was basically just fan fiction. That is how I sort of view Help Wanted, right? Like it's, William Afton is this person that like people know he was a murderer. But Fazbear comes along and just basically, well, what they pretend is all made up, fan fiction about William Afton. They create, he turned into Springtrap and all this stuff, right? I'm actually playing 4D chess right now. You can't get the best of all, Willie. All of that, actually happened, but none of it is public information. And so Fazbear's just putting that out there to be like, wouldn't that be crazy?
You know what? Yes. It makes me wonder, like, did Fazbear Entertainment realize, wait, is our founder a rotten green rabbit corpse? To be fair, it's like the type of thing that people eat up, right? Like, it's a very like typical slasher, like horror movie. Like you're turning this monster into like an icon, which I think, backing it up a little bit. So literally in the second movie, you have that scene with Abby on the bus and she's like talking about Freddy's and what happened in the first movie. And then the yellow rabbit came and attacked Mike.
Yeah, exactly.
But now he's like rotting in a back room, whatever, like a secret back room or whatever. And then you have FazFest.
Abby is excitedly telling this story about how they defeated an actual child murderer.
Yeah. And you have like FazFest and also the FNAF 3 horror attraction, Fazbear's Fright. Literally, you have like all these things that are based off of either the horror attraction in particular is literally based off like the old rumors and fairy tales surrounding the brand. Like, oh, all these murders at the behest of this monster of a man, and then like, oh, the animatronics moving at night, like all of that. And then you have like Fast Fest, which is dedicated to Freddy's more in general, but also it is still this company in place that like all these people died at and whatever.
Yeah, and it is true that a lot of classic, like very iconic slasher villains were originally based off of real serial killers.
Oh yeah, I won't get into that, but like there's certain like inspirations, I'm going to say loosely, for William Afton. Like, oh wow, that feels very standard.
Yeah.
You could say very standard psychopath, but also like it reminded me of the Zodiac killer in particular.
I'm not entirely convinced Matt Pett was wrong in his first FNAF video.
I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about that. I feel like that was wild. I always forget that was his first.
Yeah, it's based on a real series of murders.
But it's one of my favorite themes in FNAF of this, like the company or whatever, constantly bringing back this old mystery, like reviving the legend of Freddy Fazbear.
It always comes back.
In a way, it's really like you give William Afton what he wants by consistently bringing back this that should have been left to rot, should have been forgotten. Like
that is a big theme of FNAF. Is like all these things that should have been forgotten just keep coming back. History rhymes. Everything just keeps repeating itself.
It's the field.
There are all these similarities, right? Like sort of the same story beats, repeat themselves. And I don't think that's entirely because Scott is a lazy writer or even at all. I think that ties into the mimic even.
Yeah.
Right? Is like history's repeating itself because what does AI do? It repeats things that it's seen. It repeats what's already happened in just new ways, right? And so it makes sense that in this era, right, that where the mimic is the main antagonist, a lot of the events would be events we've seen before, but like twisted and put into new context and changed in all these weird ways.
You know what I also think it is? I think it's also Scott's way of like, again, I don't think it's him being a lazy writer at all. It's funny for as like, again, as crappy as people might say the second movie is. You could criticize his writing skills. I don't think it's necessarily lazy writing. I think it's like two different categories in terms of like the games though specifically.
You can criticize the movie all you want. Scott put his heart into that. He wasn't like just phoning it in.
No.
Like he cares about this franchise, maybe a little too much even. He wouldn't be so protective over like the lore and like whether or not he should confirm things if he just didn't care at all.
Yeah, I think it's his way of like these repeating themes and like narratives in the story. Again, I don't think it's him just reusing plot beats because I don't know what else to do.
Yeah,
I think it's him clarifying. It's his way of telling a new story in a way with like the mimic and whatever, while using the opportunity of this repetition to go back and clarify things from the past. Like it's been a big like speculation, we might go to sister location in like the next game or DLC. Even Secret of the Mimic literally took place in the like earliest of the timeline. In a way, it did clarify a lot of things about other stuff in the franchise. And so I think that is like Scott Cawthon's way of clarifying stuff that we might have misconstrued or like might have not gotten in the past.
The franchise, Five Nights at Freddy's, is very thematically rich, and I don't think people give Scott enough credit. Like I think people are way too dismissive of Scott. Like there are some people who act like the man is just incapable of making an artistic decision.
I understand, like, is Scott perfect? No, not at all. He has made mistakes.
Yeah, I understand getting frustrated with the guy, especially, when we're talking about security breach.
Yeah.
Like, but again, that is him being very protective of the franchise. Like that, exactly what I was talking about. He loves this franchise almost too much, where it's his baby, and he couldn't trust the story with other people. And, I don't think he was like, I'm going to make this game as confusing as possible.
Solve my riddles.
Solve my riddles.
It's like, I always like to make that joke, like, Steel like, Scott, what is this supposed to mean? And Scott's just like, collect my Talbot files, Steel Studio.
And, I can't get super mad at the guy for it, because at that point, right, he had been, independently developing Five Nights at Freddy's completely on his own for like 4 years. Putting that into somebody else's hand, basically giving up his baby, that could not have been easy.
Yeah, I It's always like a balancing act for me because it's a balance of like I understand why people have their criticisms of Scott and like the valid issues.
We can joke, but he's not the greatest writer on earth. He makes mistakes.
No, but I also understand again, like you said, like at that point he had not grown accustomed to giving the franchise off to anyone else. I think it's funny because I've seen this pop up before a few times where like people will compare or like push FNAF against Undertale.
Yeah.
Or like put them
that
against
that
each
pisses
other.
me off genuinely.
I think the issue with that, it's like comparing apples to oranges.
No, they're
like,
telling very different stories in very different ways.
Exactly. Like the only
similarity is they're both
indie.
They're both indie. Yeah, that's it.
And FNAF really isn't indie anymore.
Yeah, no, it hasn't been for a while.
Yeah, it's not indie anymore.
I mean, it's technically indie, but it's it's indie in the sense that it is independently published.
This was an issue recently because of like a Game Awards thing, like what classifies as an indie game. Putting that aside,
because Steel Wool is an indie studio.
Again, it kind of goes into like what's the definition of indie, because it's such a it just
means
term.
Independently published. I mean, that's it. But the way it's used, colloquially, sort of implies this sort of a smaller scale, right? It implies less funding. That isn't like technically a part of the definition at all.
What was I gonna say about that? Oh, Undertale. That's like
yes.
Because so like, of course, you could say Undertale is the cleaner narrative, and like, oh, it's the more like coherent and put together compared to FNAF. That's because you're not theorizing much about Undertale.
Well, yeah, also FNAF's not about, and I mean, this is gonna sound strange, but the point isn't to tell a super clean point A, point B, 3-act story,
Yeah.
That's not what Scott's doing. And it never has been.
No, it hasn't. I think the issue is that people really do want that out of FNAF.
Yeah.
And I think in a way you get that with like maybe the books, but like the original Silver Eyes trilogy is
you get a very nice, like, straightforward narrative in like Secret of the Mimic with the Murray family and everything.
Oh yeah. The issue is that, using Undertale as the example, of course, they both offer different avenues of enjoyment, I think. Like the point of FNAF is the theorizing. Like here are some hard facts. Here are like some evidence clues or like hints, whatever, and then you make up your mind and you use your media literacy if you have it, the power of deduction.
Yep.
And you come to the conclusions you come to. Whereas with Undertale, you're there for the experience. It is a full story.
It's telling a full story, and you don't have to like. People do try to like theorize about Deltarune like it's FNAF. It's really funny.
It just isn't. It's like, there was some stuff. I mean, there's always been like an idea in video game industry, like, oh, there's some things that are left open ended.
There's like WD Gaster is like really the biggest like mystery in Undertale, and I don't think how many answers is Toby ever actually gonna give about him? He's just sort of this mysterious guy.
I think it's comparing apples to oranges, and the point of FNAF, and it's why it isn't interesting to see sometimes like. People do get cynical, I think, about FNAF sometimes. Which, again, I understand, of course. I like, valid, I do get it. But I think it's that balancing act of, part of it, you could say, is, like, Scott makes his mistakes. But also...
Everyone makes mistakes.
Like,
I've had more than my share.
But also, like, it is about theorizing, so can you really blame the franchise for, like, kind of doing what it's always done?
Yeah, I genuinely enjoy the way that Scott tells a story, and I mean, he doesn't always execute it perfectly, right? He expected people to be able to solve FNAF 4 pretty easily, and obviously, that didn't happen.
He has writer bias. Like, he has, like, it's the writer bias is that, like, oh, you didn't know the story that I wrote? I made it so clear.
But
so it's clear to you because you wrote the story.
And, sometimes I see people, complaining about FNAF's narrative, and I don't know, it's just strange, because they're sort of...
It's a lot of stigma. That's what it is.
They're complaining about the franchise at, like, such, like, a fundamental level. Like, just the way the story is told, and, like, the way it's always been told.
Right.
And it just, I don't know, it confuses me, I guess.
No, I thought about this a lot, and this is my other favorite topic to talk about. So, Let me tell you a little bit of a story here, Mr. Meatloafers.
Of
So
course.
I think it can be agreed upon that part of why FNAF got big to begin with is because of the online atmosphere. Like, it got big off of people talking at YouTubers specifically, is how it got big. Like, Markiplier playing it, PewDiePie playing it,
Yeah.
Yami Mash, I think, was like back in the day. Matt Pat, like, The Living Tombstone made a song off of it. It got big off of people on YouTube. It's always thrived in the YouTube atmosphere, and that only continued to be true as the years progressed, as the theorizing like community got bigger, especially with like Security Breach, and as the franchise progressed, it has always thrived in the YouTube and online atmosphere.
Yes.
And so for a long time, and I always tie it back to this because I think it is just true. MatPat was, specifically Game Theory will say, was the number one source for theorizing and lore for the entire community. There weren't as many theorists back in the day. A lot of the time, it was more so like people playing the game itself.
No, I mean, like the community consensus for the lore was just whatever Game Theory was saying.
Yeah, literally. Like, they would watch Markiplier play it. They'd watch Darko play it.
I mean, it's interesting because I never watched like any of the gameplay back in the day. I've always been interested in almost exclusively the theorizing. Like, the first FNAF content I watched was like 8-Bit Gaming. And then I watched MatPat for years, and I'll be honest, I didn't watch really any other theorists until like maybe like a couple of years ago.
That's understandable, because here's the thing, it's kind of like a joke, to be honest, so like a meme in the community, that a lot of FNAF fans, especially like maybe like the younger folk, especially back in the day anyway, like when those original Click Team games were coming out, they did not play the games themselves.
I haven't played the games.
Exactly. Like, you're the example of like, you didn't play the games, you watched like the gameplay, like you watched Markiplier play it.
Well, it's I've watched so many theories at this point that I feel like I know more about the games than a person who would just like do a normal playthrough.
Because you can be a fan of something without like necessarily, I mean, maybe movies are a bit different, but like a game, you can know everything about a game. Like, if you sit down and watch like a fun fact breakdown of like Secret of the Mimic, you'll learn that, hey, the Mimic has stilts. It has stilts that protrude from it, and that's not something that a normal like player is going to realize when they're playing the game.
That's really something that can only happen with games, where you become a big fan of it when you haven't actually played it.
Oh yeah. Well, continuing off what I was saying, so it was specifically around the time of Security Breach, where I think a lot, the theorizing community, there was a big shift between people just playing the games and then people talking about like the deeper lore and whatnot. You had a lot of people like John FNAF pop up, and he like tore Security Breach asunder. Yeah, with his baby chips and Charlie bots.
Absolute peak.
I think Rytos was another one that popped up after Security Breach. It's Fantasy.
Yeah, I was around. I was there around this time. Yeah.
The last year or two is when Now Raven, T-Dreads.
The like T-Dreads renaissance.
Yeah. Like, in more recent years, you've seen a lot more, what I call a the diversification when it comes to theorizing. And I am glad that we have a lot more voices and like perspectives now. Because you get a lot more, again, like I was saying, like, oh, I like John FNAF, but sometimes doesn't stick the landing for me. For as crackpot as some theories may be, like your dual process theories and, I don't know, your Charlie bots, whatever. For as wild as they might be, I'm glad we have them because it's food for thought.
Yeah, like dual process theory were the ones who introduced me to the idea of Vanessa being an Afton.
Yeah, there you go.
Of course, I'm pretty sure they said that Michael was her father, but, you know, still.
I think they said Michael was the vengeful spirit, so. But anyway, case in point, though, again, like, there's a lot more of variety in theorists now, and you hear a lot more perspectives, as opposed to just hearing game theory. I think a lot of people nowadays would say, like, oh, I prefer to watch this other person compared to, like, game theory.
Oh, I barely watch game theory anymore.
Oh, yeah. Nothing to do with, like, the fact
that
like,
I hate game theory.
No. Like, sometimes I give... It's never been like MatPat's fault or whatever. The issue, and this ties back into what I was saying, is because Game Theory and MatPat were the number one source for like understanding the story and franchise. for like so many years, you have a lot of like, let's say, old fans, or even not even necessarily old fans, but just fans in general that will watch game theory and they will take what MatPat said like 6 years ago at face value.
Yeah.
Like there are people, I think this one always annoys me. Oh, game theory was the retcon.
No.
Even though it's like Scott has went on record to say it was like
because there are alarm clocks in hospitals.
Yeah, like there's so many reasons why dream theory does not make sense. I think Matt had even said in his original video, like, "Oh, there's holes in this theory."
Yeah.
But a lot of people just took that and ran with it.
Oh, I definitely took that and ran with it. I remember talking about dream theory on the playground in like 4th grade.
No, exactly though. The other one is that MatPat wrote the lore, like Scott wrote the lore because MatPat got it right. You know, like Scott Cawthon was taking what MatPat said.
They're Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of like a meme, like MatPat.
Yeah, it's just Scott Cawthon trying to best MatPat.
Yeah, and it's like it's funny. But also, people actually took it at face value, and I've seen people like even outside of the community have this misconception. Like, didn't he like change the law because game theory got it right?
Just another example of people, discrediting Scott Cawthon's ability to just tell a story at a basic level.
Yeah, and it's like looking back in hindsight, it's like, oh, of course, game theory wasn't the case. Like, there's so much to saying that. And it's funny, I don't know, like, maybe people would disagree with me, but in the game files, this is something I always like to bring up. It's a little known fact that Nightmare in the game files of FNAF 4 is literally called Shadow Freddy. And that is like, nowadays, it is like a little bit more well known, but it's surprising to me that never came up.
I didn't know that until a few months ago.
Exactly. It's like, I think the reason why it was like so surprising to me is that like people tore apart the game files for FNAF 2 and they found like that one Mike sprite, like that's been known for a while, but you didn't find Shadow Freddy in the game files. It's so weird to me.
And that was the thing, finally actually like spreading my wings and going and watching all these other theorists other than like, MatPat is when I realized just how many blind spots I did have.
Oh,
right, because all the information I had learned about the game was, from game theory videos, and you don't realize really just how much there is until you like really get into the weeds. I remember watching the video about Baby Chip. I'll bring it up again. That was the first time I'd ever heard about that. Like, I did not know that chip existed before I watched that video. It blew my mind.
But they also, especially John, like the whole Baby Chip and like, the glass on the floor in the daycare room or whatever. It's like these little details that particularly, I guess you could say game theory or like some theorists would not touch on. But then you're like, wait, this detail actually is important? What?
Yeah.
And this makes sense? It's one of those things where it's like, again, I'm glad we have so many different like eyes and perspectives now because you have a lot more variety in theories. And even if you don't necessarily agree with every theory,
game theory would never come up with 14 theory.
They wouldn't. It's literally, again, I'm so glad that we have that now. Moving forward, so like we had that boost with security breach. The thing about that, and I guess this kind of betrays what I just said, when you think about it, especially in terms of like arguing or debating FNAF, it is like politics. You are just changing the words around instead of saying, like, not to get too political here, just an example, Donald Trump is ruining the country. The Mimic is ruining FNAF. It's the same thing, but you're changing the names. But, like, it's because it's always, like, in terms of, like, pairing it to politics, it's because FNAF can be polarizing when you're, like, pitting ideas against each other. And that's the thing is, it's like, you're not supposed to argue with people about, oh, you're wrong, I'm right, or something. There's a way to debate FNAF, let's say, in a very, like, polite and reasonable manner. And it's okay to disagree.
That's the thing about FNAF, and I might come off, like, a little pretentious, I'm not trying to, but the thing about FNAF is it has this very unconventional, method of telling its story, right? And then it also has a lot of very sort of esoteric and strange concepts and ideas in it. But at the same time, it has all these like very unique, esoteric, sort of unconventional things about it, but then it's also incredibly mainstream.
Yeah.
I feel like that creates a little bit of, cognitive dissonance, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word.
No, I know what you mean. You're absolutely right. It's paradoxical. That's how I put it. It is paradoxical in how it is. How I always put it is that the FNAF fandom is not like other fandom. So there was like it's always like a thing with fandom that there's always going to be a toxic part of fandom. It just comes with like the concept.
Comes with
and
your fandom.
sort of the gig. It comes with the gig. Like toxicity, it just exists. You have like the hardcore fans that might have a bit of like a superiority complex, or you have people like really dead set in their ways about something or whatever. However, let me use an example. You have two people, let's say, arguing on FNAF Twitter about will care, or will care's true, will care isn't, whatever. And it becomes a heated debate, whatever, because, you know, it's FNAF, I guess. You gotta...
This is serious stuff, man.
Yeah, this is serious stuff, man. If you're anti-William Afton, well, William Afton's ruining the country.
William Afton killed my grandma, okay?
But, you know, the funny thing is that both sides of the argument will most likely be wrong, because inherently, what they are repeating from their mouths is just regurgitation from what they heard from their favorite theorist.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying at the end of the day, FNAF theorists are politicians trying to perpetuate their own narratives. Because that's where we are at the end of the day. We are trying to make you believe in what we believe. Or we are proposing a theory.
And I don't necessarily even want people to believe in what I believe. Well, believe in what I believe. Like I believe much of anything. I'm not 100% about almost anything in this series. And that's the fun part.
Oh, yeah. But it's like, because, again, like the polarizing nature of it, it's like, I think there is a sort of comparison to be made there. And here's the thing, even if, like, I think, you know, like, MatPath was the example of, like, even he said Dream Theory was, like, there were problems with it, but people still took it anyway. It's like, you don't necessarily have a choice in the matter. If like someone wants to believe your theory,
it doesn't matter how many caveats I put in. Like this is just you know, this is just sort of an idea I had.
No, he's saying it 100%. Like
because there there are ideas I have for videos that are very crackpot, things that I 100% don't think are true, but that I just think are interesting to sort of think about, right?
Yeah.
And I guess I'm very hesitant to make those kind of videos at the same time.
You've heard of my 2 cents, do it, because crackpot stuff is always like the most interesting stuff. Even if it's like, oh, that doesn't necessarily make total sense.
Yeah.
But also, so like what I was saying about like certain fans or whatever, not to say like all fans or like somehow brain.
I hate all of you. Unsubscribe right now.
Unsubscribe from Meat Loafers. But
I mean subscribe, like, and subscribe and comment and I don't know, super chat or something.
But like fans watch their favorite YouTuber, and of course like favorite in terms of like FNAF theorizing, of course, or like the lore or whatever. And so like, okay,
I go to Mr. Beast for my FNAF info.
Exactly. You know what? Why not? But like, of course, you'll take them at face value because okay, I like what they're saying about the lore or whatever. And so, like, of course, when it comes to, like, debating about FNAF, they will repeat what that theorist said because it's what, the viewer has decided to believe in because it makes sense in their head. And a lot of the time, this ties back to the whole idea of, well, you don't necessarily engage with the property itself. When I say that, I don't mean it, like, in a negative way. Like, in the whole, like, you didn't play the games yourselves. You just watched Theorist. And so, that's your understanding of the franchise, or at least this aspect of the lore. Yeah. There's not a problem with that on the surface. There's no problem with that at all. Like, we all like watching.
I haven't played the games.
Exactly. Yeah, like, there's not a problem with that.
But I try to cast a very wide net when it comes to theories. Like, anytime I see, like, on my recommended a theorist I haven't seen before, I immediately subscribe, watch a video. At this point, I'm subscribed to just, like, every theorist on YouTube at this point, and somehow I keep finding new ones. There are so many people out there, and, a lot of people, don't get very much attention at all that have, like, genuinely really good ideas.
Yeah. It's interesting because, like I said, Security Breach, it opened up, like, a wider pool. It gave FNAF another boost in popularity, but I think we have gotten to a point where even, like, the theorizing in terms of, like, YouTube might be a bit diluted because there's so many people doing it. It makes me worried for, like, the long term, but I try not to think about it. What was I saying before? Because people, again, consume the concept or, like, the understanding of FNAF from a particular YouTuber nowadays, as opposed to, like, back in the day, people were kind of united under the one true game theory flag.
The one true theory.
Yeah, like
Andrew's the vengeful spirit. That's the one true theory.
It used to be a dream theory. But nowadays you have that, because you have that wider pool, you have a lot more of, like, opposing perspectives. And so that's where you get like the kind of heated debates and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I think there was not another fandom like FNAF that has the same problem, if you want to call it a problem necessarily, because FNAF is so unconventional and paradoxical and how like it tells its story. When you're doing like a shipping battle, or when you're like arguing maybe some character aspects in like another franchise, you're not arguing facts, because at the end of the day, you know, because other franchises have like a more clear and coherent like view of their aspects.
I mean, some fandoms do get very heated about headcanons.
Oh yeah, there's like heated debates, but with FNAF, because it's all like theorizing, you know, you're building upon theories and whatnot. You are like constantly arguing your own foundation a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But also to that end, a lot of people act like there aren't hardcore like facts in FNAF story.
There are.
Like
there are a lot.
There are like William Afton is Springtrap. You know, like
well, Mic Trap is technically possible because we aren't told explicitly. Like, come on. That's not how stories work.
Yeah.
Like, I'd never in a million years consider another theorist an opponent, you know? Like, we need to debate. I need to defeat you in the marketplace of ideas. We're peers. It's a collaborative effort. We all have the same goal.
Yeah, I think, thankfully, actual, like, particularly in the content creation space, well, I think we're, like, decently all, like, respective of each other. It's just an interesting kind of, like, microcosm, I guess you could say, of how the fandom is and how it interacts with itself. Because everything we just talked about, like, how the fandom kind of, it's an Ouroboros. They get their understanding from content creators on the platform.
It's a big game of telephone.
It is a big game of telephone, as opposed to like coming to your own I don't want to say people don't come to their own conclusions, but it is easier for a lot of people, especially more casual fans, let's say, to watch a theorist or whatever and them explain it to them, and they're like, okay, that's just true in my head now. Especially, I will tell you, I can say with like experience, because you might think like, oh, that's not like a big majority of the fandom. Yeah. Because of course, like people we might interact with on a more like consistent basis that are also FNAF fans, that they are probably on the same level of fan as us, so they're like a little more open-minded, let's say. But I literally, to paint a picture, I have gotten a comment before, one of my favorite comments ever. It was on a theory I did. Sorry, I'm still MatPat pilled and I'm not open to new ideas right now. At least they were honest.
I'm just gonna start commenting that on every video I see.
But also, like, I get a lot of, this is a really fun one. So I did, like, an SFM animation a little while ago that's, like, Springtrap owes child support.
Yeah.
And you will not believe the amount of comments I got. It's not Evan, it's Dave.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't, because it's a meme at the end of the day, and the audio came from, like, a few years ago before Dave was...
I didn't make the audio, okay.
No, I didn't. It was just an animation. But also, it's like the addendum to a lot of those comments is that they think that MatPat made that theory.
The Dave theory. Yeah, MatPat did not create that theory.
No, it was Hyperdroid, but a lot of people, again...
Well, yeah, MatPat didn't create that theory, and he went to great lengths in his videos to tell his audience that he didn't, and they still think he did.
Yeah, like literally. It's again because I don't blame MatPat for any of like the misconceptions or misinterpretations people might have about the franchise. As much as I might say like, oh, because of game theory, it's not their fault. It's the byproduct almost. It's like nature in a way. It just happened.
Yeah. There is this tendency for some people to get very mad at MatPat for that, and it's really not. It's not his fault.
No. It's just a shame. It's not like they could have even done anything because, like he even said, he went through great lengths to say Hyperdroid did this. Guys, look, MatPat made this theory about the Crunch Child being Dave. I'm like, come on. What I realized is that the type of FNAF fans I get a lot of the time in my comments especially, it's the type of people that are like a lot more casual.
Yeah.
Because believe it or not, there was like a casual side to like the fan base in a way. I know a lot of people that are like used to be in FNAF a lot more back in like 2014, 2015, 2016, in like the early years of it, and like they might like cosplay. They like the concept more than the actual like idea.
Exactly.
Or like they enjoy more of like the stuff surrounding the franchise. Like back in the day, people would make like animatics or whatever.
I think it is interesting. I think, and this might sound crazy, a lot of FNAF popularity doesn't come from what FNAF actually is.
Absolutely.
It's so interesting to see sometimes, right? Like the things that are what make FNAF so popular, the things that I see a lot of like more casual fans, you know, being attracted to are just genuinely just so far from, you know, what I love about the franchise. Yeah, the
like,
VHS.
The VHS.
God.
Like the analog Hollywood stuff popped off like a few years ago because of that like one.
He ate them.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like that is so far removed from what FNAF actually is. Even if some of them tell like an interesting story that's like more or less.
I mean, I'm not
let's
gonna
say,
like, I'm not gonna, you know, crap on them. You know,
No,
some
no,
of them are
no.
well made, scary. Being like, oh, I think the game should be more like the VHS series. Like, what are you talking about?
It's just like it's not what FNAF is, and it's always been that thing where like FNAF really is carried by its fandom in a lot of ways, and it's not necessarily a fault of the franchise entirely anyway, but it's just the FNAF fandom does breed creativity a lot, and like look at all it has a subgenre of its own in terms of fan games.
Yeah.
Like, look at all the fan games.
Yeah, FNAF has just become a genre of game.
It is, pretty much is.
That like, there's a whole tab for it on Game Jolt.
Literally, it's like I think I've never like seen another franchise that has like its own subgenre of video gaming. Like, I don't think that exists.
And I mean, I will say, like, at least like, you know, in my generation, you know, Gen Z, FNAF is just like ubiquitous. Like everyone had like, you know, at least back in like 2014 and such, like they watched Markiplier play it, or they like remember something from back then.
Yeah.
And I'd say like a vast majority of the people, you know, who are like fans of FNAF are not like, you know, as invested in the lore as like say we are, or even like some of our viewers are. Well, some of my viewers, I guess.
Oh yeah, I know. Well, mine are chopped. It's okay. You can say it. But no, it's totally like, you know, I have friends like that. Like I have one, this is very funny to me. So this was a little while ago. I was in a Discord call with them. I think we were like briefly talking about FNAF or something or whatever. And it came up like, I was saying something along the lines of, because they were like the type of fan that got into it in the early days. And they did at the time like the lore and like theorizing like, oh, the mystery of who did the fight of 87, or like who Purple Guy was or whatever. Again, like back before we had a name like William Afton. But they fell out of love with it because they had this conception like, oh, it's all about like solving the timeline now. And
no,
like timeline has always been a part of it.
Yeah,
of
people
course.
talk a lot about the timeline. I don't care. Well, like I care about the timeline, but like, you know, I definitely don't put as much focus on it as, you know, some other theorists do.
I don't even think I mean, like every so often, of course, there is like a timeline theory, and it is something people talk about, but it's not like big on people's minds.
No.
Really. Especially because a lot of people will agree that like, oh yeah, this just takes place here. Like FNAF 2, 1987, FNAF 1, 1993.
You know, you somehow still get quite a lot of debates about like, oh, did FNAF 1 take place in 1992 or 1993? And I'm like,
it's like,
guys, can we be serious for a second?
But I think like the one that like most people like that's like the most difficult to place is sister location, because like that thing after FNAF 1, after FNAF 3. But point being though, it's like they had that conception of like timeline thing, or like, oh, it's like theorizing isn't what it used to be. Theorizing really hasn't changed much. The only thing that's changed is, I think, as a franchise progresses, and this dives into something else.
There are
like,
more pieces.
Yeah. So here's the thing: is FNAF complicated?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah,
that is what I love about it, right?
I have a caveat to that. So, as a franchise progresses and you have more entries and more installments, it's of course going to get more complicated, simply because of the sheer amount of content.
Well, and people definitely do overcomplicate it.
Yeah, I think like so.
Definitely.
For example, you could say Star Wars is complicated because look at all the movies they have, and all like they have books that are actually canon to like the singular universe or whatever, and like so on and so forth.
Yeah, if you want to dive into all the nitty-gritty details of Star Wars, you could go down an endless rabbit hole, and you'd have things to theorize about too. Yeah,
like they have a lot more extra material than FNAF does. Most people would not survive, like FNAF fans would not survive like I think Warhammer 4K or whatever. But it's like, if you played games 1 to 6, maybe also like tack on UCN, if you were paying attention, like if you went in there like trying to understand the story or whatever, like looking for clues, like how you were supposed to, if you were engaging with it in the intended way, then you would get a version of the story. Is it the correct version or the full version? No. But you would get a good general grasp of, okay, this guy killed these kids, the bodies were inside the suits, they're possessing them, maybe that Mike guy from the first game is the same one in like all the games or whatever. You would get a general grasp of what's going on.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing, right? A lot of the things that are debated about the timeline are sort of smaller details that don't like matter as much in the grand scheme of things. If you really step back and just look at like the whole picture, there is a story there. Like there's a decently clear story. Like you can get a narrative out of, you know, the first 6 games.
Yeah.
For sure.
And it's funny. So like this person I was talking to, the whole like timeline thing, I brought up like, no, William Afton doesn't really care about his kids, and that was a surprise to them because they, for all intents and purposes, they thought Will care. They don't know the name Will care, but it's pretty much what they believed because of, you know, it's that example of, oh, you know, I got my law from game theory, or even like some people got the like, especially like more recent years because of the whole like analog horror back when that was like a big thing. How like those were like adapting, how they were adapting the story.
I can't stop thinking about that video.
But like the tapes, oddly enough, like a lot of them kind of leaned into Will care in a way. So people that would watch those because ooh spooky, oh this
Will cares about kids maybe a little bit too much in some of these.
I ate them, Michael. He ate them because he cared, but. Yeah, it's a very interesting sort of rabbit hole in a way, how FNAF kind of feeds into itself. And it is different from other fandoms, I think.
Yeah. All right, everyone. I've been Loafers. Go subscribe to TheDoctorIsIn. Maybe subscribe to me even. I don't know. What should our conclusion be after this mega rant?
FNAF fans hate FNAF. They don't know what FNAF is. I'm the only correct person.
That's so true. Scott Cawthon is the greatest writer on earth, and I'm the only one who understands him.
Exactly. That and also here, I have a better conclusion. There was a surprising amount of like real world like concepts that exist in FNAF in some way.
Yeah. We sort of had 2 or like 3 different conversations. We talked about, you know, the real world concepts, and we talked about the movie, then we talked about the fandom.
You're right. See, this was so productive.
This was the most productive conversation I've ever had.
You're never gonna have another guest like me on.
I'm gonna be chasing this high for the rest of time.
Actually, you're gonna die after the podcast ends, so that's why.
By your hand?
I don't want to say anything.
I don't want to incriminate myself.
I don't want to give it away. I don't want to give it
spoilers. Yeah. You're right.
But let's just say...
leave it up to the audience to solve that bit of lore.
I hope you're ready for some midnight motoring.
Oh, no.